And we're live.
Hey,
Alright.
Hello, everyone.
what's
Hey
up?
everyone.
Hey everyone, what you doing?
Hope everyone's having a great afternoon and welcome. Thank you all for coming. And let's jump right into it, I guess. Alright. So for today, we'll be covering everything you need to know about the Solution Challenge, which is the annual event that the DSC program holds for all the DSCs internationally. And so, first of all, we'll be explaining a little bit more about what the Solution Challenge is. We'll have a guest speaker talk about all the rules and tips and tricks that you might want to use for your Solution Challenge project. We'll be covering past winners, school tools and software that you could use, how to complete your project to the best of ability that you can, and our future chapter meeting schedule. And afterwards, we'll have our ideation event at around 1:50. And I'll pass it off to Jasmine to start.
Thank you, Aaron. So now I'll be covering what is the solution challenge. The solution challenge is basically two main ideas. You first find a solution to a problem in your community, and this community can consist of your local community, student community, or any other personal communities that you have. And then you form a group of 4 to create a project that will execute your solution. And the Solution Challenge is an international competition that picks top 10 winners as well as regional winners. Next, I'll be talking about why should I participate? So the benefits of participating include helping the community, and you get to put your skills to the test, so you apply what the knowledge that you've learned into practical application. You also get to get out of your comfort zone. And when you do that, you're able to explore new jobs, new interests, new technology, and also meet new people along the way. You also get to create a project that you're proud of that can be posted on your portfolio or resume. And lastly, the top 10 winners get some awesome prizes. And although the prizes for 2021 are still undecided, some of the 2020 prizes were the Solution Challenge Demo Day, where the winners showcase their projects to everyone in the world. And mentoring, they got to have Google developers mentor them to further their project, and as well as a customized swag kit. So now I will pass it off to our guest speaker for today. Let's meet him.
Well, howdy from Austin, Texas, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Some of you may have seen me in some other, developer student club events out there on YouTube, or perhaps, from your own, your own club. But for those who don't know me, my name's Daniel Fiorillo. I'm the developer student club community manager in the U.S. I do support all of our clubs in North America, and I'm really excited to be joining y'all today and talking about Solution Challenge. Before I move on and kind of talk about the history of Solution Challenge, just want to plug the LinkedIn URL down there at the bottom. If you happen to be on the YouTube chat and you can quickly type in my LinkedIn, I would love for you to connect with me. That way I can follow your progress with DSC as you're learning these new tools. And heck, maybe if you do a really good job on your project, I can endorse some really cool new skills that you've learned along the way. So connect with me, and I'd love to see you, grow and enjoy this journey that we're all about to embark on together. All right. Now that that's over with, let's get into the real meat of what we're doing here, which is Solution Challenge, right? So on the next slide, I'm going to kind of just briefly cover where Solution Challenge came from. And then I'm actually going to briefly depart from our slide deck, present my screen, and show y'all some really cool information from our Solution Challenge website. Developer Student Club has been around for a couple years now. It was a global program which did eventually expand into the US. So last year in 2020 Solution Challenge, that was actually the United States' and North America's first chance to participate. But that wasn't the beginning of this journey. We actually opened up Solution Challenge in 2019 for all of our chapters to come together and build projects to showcase all of their new skills and help their local communities. We have some really amazing YouTube videos on our channel, as well as on our Solution Challenge website. And I'd really like to show y'all where to find those, as well as some more information about specifically what you're going to be asked to cover in the Solution Challenge, as well as the criteria. So give me 1 second here and let me share my screen. Sorry about this, y'all. Apparently, it's taking a little longer than anticipated, but I promise it's worth the wait. All right. Okay. So in just a moment, you will see the Solution Challenge website being displayed on screen. For those who are on the YouTube chat, give us just a little bit and we will make sure that this link is displayed. So number one, for all of the past Solution Challenge projects and our demo day, you can actually find the full event and playlist here. We will be covering some of those later today, but I just wanted to let you know all of this is linked in our website as well. But here's what I wanted to show you just briefly, right? So to learn about our previous DSC Solution Challenge winners, come to our Get Inspired section of the Solution Challenge. We have a number of amazing projects which were built from all over the world. We have an Indonesia flood app, alert app, which would actually, help people in low-lying flood areas be notified of an incoming flood. Really great stuff that was developed there. We also have a developer student club from Ghana, which came together to build a navigation app for a local mall. And then finally, we have Hastia, who was actually a deaf computer science student who, overcame some amazing obstacles to build a really amazing project for hearing impaired individuals. And she even got to present and meet, Sundar, at a Google conference with all of her amazing work. So I just wanted to, again, let y'all know that, this is an amazing opportunity for y'all to build a project, not only give back to your local community, but hopefully get some amazing recognition for the hard work that you've done. With that, I'd love to just switch back to the slide decks if possible. So I will stop presenting. Awesome. So now let's jump into a little bit more about the Solution Challenge rules, and I'll cover some more specific criteria in which you will be evaluated on. So just to cover some very basic eligibility requirements here. Number one, you have to be 18 years or older, and you must be enrolled in a university or an affiliate university of DSC, right? So you need to be 18 years or older and be a member of this local chapter or perhaps another local chapter. I would imagine since you're here joining us for this event, you're probably a member of this chapter. So thank you for being here. Now, there are some additional evaluation criteria which have not been necessarily published just yet. But if you go to our Solution Challenge website, you can see how we evaluated previous Solution Challenge projects. And if we could, I'm gonna just briefly go back to my own screen here, just to show y'all what those criteria are. So on our Solution Challenge website, which y'all see now, just below the Get Inspired videos that I previously described, we actually have a breakdown of the evaluation criteria for the Solution Challenge. What I want to do here is just take a moment and say, I'm not going to read all of these individually to you, but I want to show you a couple things which are probably a departure from other projects you've worked on in the past and or for like hackathons, things like that. So number one, in the impact section, a lot of these points come from, not necessarily your code or your actual solution that you've implemented, right? We first look in if you've established a clear problem in the local community and if you've explained it in a clear manner, right? The second point here is we look if you've tested it with real users and you've tried to go through a feedback loop and iterate feedback based upon what you received from these real-time users. So what we're really trying to do here is not just look at the technical aspect of what you did. We're also trying to look at how you approach the problem, how y'all work together to solve this as a community, and if ultimately the solution you put in place was useful for those individuals who would be making use of your projects, right? Finally, I also want to say here that we are looking at the scalability aspect as well. While I know we are talking about local problems, one of the things that we found from this challenge is that local problems tend to pop up in multiple local areas. And if you can build a solution for a problem in your area, it could easily scale and maybe help others in a different area. So again, if you want to click through and read each one of these evaluation criterias, they are on our solution challenge website, which is events.withgoogle.com/DSC solution challenge. All right. So with that, I guess we can switch back to the presentation deck. Thank you all so much for allowing me to flip over there. I just think it's really important for y'all to know where to find some of this information on your own, as well as for you to take a deep dive into the terms and conditions. Because, warning, dad moment here, you should always read what you're signing up for, okay? Fun fact, a lot of these terms and conditions will put like fun little things inside of them as well. So like, secret chocolate chip cookie recipes, promotion codes, things of that nature. So, make sure you get into a good habit of reading your terms and conditions. Now, for those who don't want to do that, I'm going to try to put your minds at ease and just talk about a couple of the things that you may be looking for. So number one, no, Google's not looking to steal your intellectual property. Number two, right, you are in control of what you build. If you want to know any more in those terms and conditions, please go to our website. Now, with that, I want to kind of deep dive more into how we want you to participate, and I'm also going to briefly talk about some pro tips that I think would help along the way, right? Actually, I believe I should pass this along to someone on the core team, or am I mistaken here? Do y'all want me to explain this, right? Yeah? Okay. Sorry about that. So number one, when it comes to approaching a problem, you want to brainstorm, right? So you want to think of the ideas that you would want to work on, right? So don't just pick the first idea that comes to your head, right? Really look at the world around you and try to come up with a problem that would excite you and would help you save time throughout the day if you solved. You want to make sure also to try to incorporate reaching out to local businesses and nonprofits as well, because helping solve things that's not just students are being affected by is also a great use of y'all's amazing skills. The second step here is to make sure you register when the Solution Challenge opens up in January, right? When the Solution Challenge opens up in January, early January of 2021, there's going to be some amazing events that are, hosted by Google developers to help y'all uncover new ideas, help you get started on a developer cycle if you haven't before, get you connected with amazing mentors from around the world, from our other communities, Google developer experts, Google developer groups, women tech makers, and more. So make sure when the time comes to please register on our website. The other thing here is once you've kind of brainstormed a few ideas and I would say you should form a team before registering because y'all can get started. So I would say, form a team first, kind of share those ideas with one another. And then in this team of 4, try to pick one idea that y'all want to work on. You want to make sure to work with other students in this process because part of this is to, be able to give and take from other students' skills. And part of working on a project in the real world is working with others and kind of being able to flex to their skills and support one another. So make sure you work with the team, max 4 students. Finally, from there, this is when the fun begins. after registering, after your team's built, what you'll actually start to receive is resources from Google developers to help you, right? So think GCP credits, think access to additional tools for you to begin building on these platforms and build a real project to submit to us, when our period opens up in end of March. So tentatively, we are looking to have submissions be due at the end of March. We may, move it up a little bit, but submissions will be open for a total of 14 days. When it comes time to submit, y'all will be asked to share, any code that you've built, specifically labeling who worked on what from your team. That way we could provide feedback if possible. The other thing is we would like you to build a 2-minute demo video showcasing the project that you've built. So this is kind of the end piece of the solution challenge where, we Google developers will kind of grade your event on that previous criteria that I've shared. And if you happen to be in the top 50 or top 100 winners, we'll invite you to kind of a next step to pitch your events to us and maybe ultimately make it inside of the top 10 from across the globe. Pardon me, got a little dry there. But yes, finally that 10-person 10 team winner showcase is what I alluded to earlier on our Solution Challenge website. If you want to take a sneak peek as to kind of how that would work, if you are a winner, feel free to check it out. Basically, you'd get the opportunity to get interviewed by a couple Googlers, get to answer some questions about your project on the main stage. So yeah, that in a nutshell is how to participate in the Solution Challenge. Awesome. So I think we're going to go into some past winners here. And for that, let me go ahead and hand it over to Giovanni. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you, Daniel. So yeah, I'll now show you guys a few of the winners from the previous challenge. There were 10 of them, but I'm only going to show you 5 for now. And you can use their projects as a way to generate ideas for your solutions. And so our first one is Free Speak from the Technical University of Munich. So these guys create a virtual presentation coach. They use Google Speech AI, TensorFlow to gather information on your speech and on your emotional expression. They then use this to create individual and personalized feedbacks to improve your presentation. Our next one is Corona AI from the University of California, Berkeley. They created a wearable chest band that gathers information through electrodes to create a visual representation of your lungs. As you can see an example on the right, someone is compressing and decompressing their lungs, and you can see a model of that to the right of that. And so the purpose of this is to keep doctors safe, by keeping them away from patients who may have COVID, but still giving them the ability to record information and data on their well-being. So our next one is Worthy Walk. And Worthy Walk is an Android and iOS app that encourages its users to be more active in their lives. And so the purpose of this is to slow the growing trend of obesity with the use of leaderboards and by offering prizes from sponsorships. And lastly, we have Tulibot. And Tulibot aims to bridge the communication gap between deaf people and the rest of the world. And to do this, they created a smart glove and smart glasses. The gloves will translate sign language into an audio output for others to hear if you don't know sign language. The glasses will transcribe an audio input into a visual output by displaying text onto the screen. Right? And they use Google Speech API to do this. And so yeah, that was just a quick overview of 5 out of 10 winners. And if you want to know more about the details of each one, and if you want to see their 2-minute promotional video, I highly encourage you to check out this link. It will also be in the video description. And with that, I'll now pass it on to our lead, Erin.
Thanks, Giovanni. So I'll be talking about a couple of tools and software that you could use to build your guys' projects. One tool is the Google Cloud Platform, or a collection of tools, I might say. It's a collection of developer products that could build amazing apps using Google's computing power, and they're the same technologies that power Google's own products, such as Search, Inbox, and Google Translate. This is just a small sample of the Google Cloud products that you could use. They're also found on the Google console with developer tools. And as you can see, there's a ton of them. They're broken down into categories such as compute, big data, machine learning, and storage and databases. As I said, most of these tools are found here on the Google console, and when you attend a Quick Labs or Cloud Hero event, you've most likely seen a couple of these. You can use these various tools for data collection, and then use this data to analyze it for your projects and to, do something with your projects or build something. Another widely used tool across several projects in last year's Solution Challenge is Flutter. Flutter is a versatile tool used for app development. It's pretty high performance, and you could use it for Android, iOS, web, or desktop development or app development. And it's pretty fast. You could develop a couple of nice UIs or user interfaces using just a couple of lines of code. And it uses Dart, which is, if you're familiar with object-oriented concepts, it's a pretty approachable language to learn. As you can see in the picture, if you've ever used Android Studio, the interface looks pretty similar, and it does come with that built-in phone screen where as you code, your updates will show in on that phone screen so that you could see what you've developed if your code compiled successfully. Another tool you could use to make backend development easier is Firebase. In my personal experience, Firebase has been really easy to link with Android Studio in app development, and it's fast and easy to obtain data in the backend that's useful for things like authentication services, as shown in the picture. You could also use Firebase for analytics data from your users, use it for databases to collect and store data. You could host your apps on the web, and then you could even have crash reporting from from your users who use your apps. And another upcoming feature is machine learning that you could use Firebase for to analyze your data. And with that, I'll pass it off to Michael.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron. So just hopping into more tools that you guys will be able to use. The first of which is TensorFlow. So for those of you who may not have heard of it, it's actually a machine learning framework which allows you to implement a Python library so that you can build and train your machine learning models and apply them within your projects. And so with TensorFlow, the main language in which you can do this, as mentioned before, is Python. However, as stated from its documentation, you can use C++, Java, JavaScript, and many more languages for this. However, they aren't as stable as Python, so just keep that in mind when looking more into this tool for your projects. And moving on from this, we also have, you can also use Android Studio, which is similar to Flutter as mentioned by Aaron. However, this is an integrated development environment specifically tailored for native Android app development. So through this IDE, you'd be able to use languages such as Java, C++, or Kotlin in order to take full advantage of the features that are specific for Android mobile apps. And finally, moving on from this, you can also utilize Google's APIs. And for those of you who may not have heard of them, APIs, standing for Application Programming Interface, are essentially just ways that you guys can communicate between your project and, in this case, for Google APIs, Google services. And so for instances, you can have stuff like Google Maps API, YouTube API, Gmail API, and Google Drive API, so that you'd be able to communicate with these services and grab data from them. And in the special case of the Google Identity API, or you may also see it as the Google Identity Platform, it would allow you to incorporate Google single sign-ons and Google sign-ins into your projects, so that users would be able to sign into an account through your project by using their Google accounts. And so, yeah, with that, I will pass it back on to Aaron.
Thanks, Michael. So if you maybe want to use another tool that you didn't see here, or have further questions about any of the tools seen here, visit this doc linked in the YouTube description to visit and see an explanation of any of the tools seen here. And though these tools may seem intimidating at first, we'll help you learn these tools in our upcoming workshops through any Cloud Hero events or Quick Labs events. And the preview of the Quick Labs is actually shown in the GIF, and it's actually not that hard to learn and use. And so I'll pass it off to Nathan.
Thank you, Aaron. Next, I'm going to be going over project development with Joshua and we're going to cover how to plan your project and execute on that plan. So the first part of planning a project is brainstorming ideas, as Daniel covered earlier. This is arguably the most important part of planning and execution. This is going to be where you flesh out most of the ideas that you guys are going to be using. And the best way to start is to create an exhaustive list of ideas. And while you're doing this, you don't want to eliminate or discriminate against any ideas. You want to make it as long as possible so you have as many options to work with as you can. Once you have a list that isn't ranked or I guess, like edited, once you have an exhaustive list, you want to narrow it down to a few ideas that you're going to be focusing on. And once you have these few ideas, you can begin to flesh them out in the next step, which is going to be mapping out your project. And so once you have the winners or the ideas that you're going to be working with, you want to create an idea around that or a project. And once you have this project articulated, you're going to figure out how you can break it down into tasks. And so doing something like creating Corona AI can be a very broad and daunting task. And it's a lot easier if you break it down into a bunch of subtasks or like milestone goals that you can gradually work towards. And when you have broken your project down into tasks, it's best to assign tasks to individuals based on their strengths. Where some people might be better with like technical skills, other might be better with other things like planning. So you want to make sure that you're assigning tasks based on people's strengths. And when you're planning it out, arguably the most important part is including enough detail that your project is organized, but you don't want to remain too rigid. And Joshua will cover that a bit later. When planning your project, you can use various tools like Gantt chart or Asana, Trello, or any of the Google services that Aaron covered earlier. And next, we're going to be covering the project timeline. And so once you have the sub-steps to complete the project, you're going to be setting deadlines for them. That way you can make sure that it's finished on time for submission. And when doing this, it's best to set milestone goals. So dates for big goals that you want to hit, but setting goals or dates for all the smaller tasks can be kind of restrictive, and it might make you feel like you're perpetually behind schedule. So due dates are very useful for larger things. And then you can also use the services we mentioned earlier to delegate work and set individual deadlines. That way everyone doesn't have to be on the same timeline and you can prioritize different tasks. Other software you can use for this is like Asana or Trello. Next, I'm going to be passing it off to Joshua, and he's going to cover how to execute on this beautiful plan that you've just created.
Thank you, Nathan. So some of our tips for the execution of your project is to have clear communication. You should have a communication hub for all members of your group, whether it be Discord, email, Messenger, or whatever your group prefers. And it's important that you communicate your goals, responsibilities, performance, and feedback, so you as a group can establish a standard of expectations that you can all live up to. And we recommend using our DSE Discord, which you can link in the comments. Link in the chat for your work sessions. And next, we're to talk about your work sessions, in which you will meet weekly with your group and have on your scheduled time. And this, where you can identify your progress from your previous weeks and target specific goals to complete by the end of the week. And this is where you delegate your work among members and be able to work within a voice chat in which you can work together. This also comes with the bi-monthly check-in sessions with our DSC officers, in which we'll come in and visit your group and check on the progress you have, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have. And our last tip is adapting to unforeseen events. So, like Nathan said earlier, it's important that you keep your project flexible during the planning phase, so you're not too rigid by due dates. So remember to prioritize important aspects of your project, and to remove like disposable aspects if under time constraints. And if someone is part of your group is unable to complete their task, make sure that your other group members will be able to complete complete it. Will be able to complete their task if they're unable to, so your team's progress doesn't fall too behind because of one person. And I'll give it back to Aaron.
Thanks, Joshua. So now that we've covered everything that you need to know about the solution challenge, what's next for our chapter? For our chapter 2 chapter meeting schedule, so we're not planning to have any future events until after finals so that you guys can focus on your schoolwork. But we'll have our second ideation event coming in December 18th, which will be continuing to form in groups, and maybe if you are a little bit overwhelmed with all the information that we presented here and need to digest it, no worries. You could always come to the second ideation event where you could pitch your idea and possibly join a group with your idea too. But our future workshops for this winter break and next semester will be tailored to the team project ideas. So for example, if you need to learn Flutter for one of your projects, we'd be happy to host a workshop and help you learn these tools to make your project successful. And we'll also be doing quick lab sessions. So as a club, we'll be doing these quick labs to help you learn these tools and expand on them and give you a brief introduction on how to use an interface with the tools. But for now, until then, in about 10 minutes, we'll actually be hosting our ideation session on Discord. The link is in the chat on our live stream. And so join us over there in the waiting room on our Discord to pitch any ideas you have and possibly go further from there. But if you have any questions for now, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get to them as soon as possible. On Discord, the link is in the... Oh,
And,
but I know there's...
Oh,
you
go
want to
ahead.
go? From there.
You can go ahead and say what you were going to say.
Oh, okay. So I do have a question actually that came up recently. So if there are actually this is directed towards Daniel. So if there are multiple groups with the same idea, is it allowed for each group to work on the same idea, or do they have to come up with a different idea?
It's a good question. I've never had two groups work on the exact same problem per se. I don't think there would be necessarily an issue with it, but y'all would have to go about solving the problem probably in different methods, just so that way it's not necessarily a carbon copy of the same project. If there's maybe a different approach to try to solve one of the problems, or the same problem rather, I think that's totally fine. And it actually could be very interesting to kind of compare the two methods in which were utilized, because that's one of the many things about technology that is interesting is, there's so many options of how to solve a problem, which one is the right one and which one would ultimately be well received. So in a nutshell, the answer is yes, but please don't just have the same project duplicated. Make it different, make it unique.
All right.
Great question, though.
Thanks for that.
I see that we have another question from Tom, who asks, just double checking, we need to use a Google product for our idea to be considered, right? And
you must use one Google product, service, API to be considered for the solution challenge. You can use other tools if you would like as well, but one of the things that we will be doing when you register for solution challenges, give you additional resources for Google specific tools. So feel free to use more than one, but the minimum is one.
All right. Sounds good.
Nice. I actually had a question. Is there any preference to using, like, say, a hardware-based project or a software-based project, kind of like what Tulibot did?
Um, so there's really no favoritism that we show to hardware versus software projects rather. Sorry. What we're more looking for is how y'all approach the problem and how you actually build out the solution to it. Right. In the top 10 winners that y'all went through the first 5, there were a couple of combinations of hardware versus software as well. So we don't show favoritism. It's more about the region specifically as well, because we do try to highlight one overall winner from each region to the top 10. So it might have just been, because of the projects submitted from the regions last year.
Okay.
I have a question. What are the constraints on resources that you can use for the project? Say you can use like Stack Overflow for small problems, but if you like seek mentorship from like third parties for help regarding an issue, what are the constraints on that?
So I would recommend you to look in the full terms and conditions. Number one, because it's going to put your mind fully at ease, not to just take what I say to heart. Not that I'm, misguiding you, but dad moment again. Read the terms and conditions. We don't really put any constraints on what it is that y'all can do. What we ask is that at the very minimum, you'll adhere to the criteria to submit, right? One project or one team of 4 students maximum, right? One Google product, service, or more. From there, if y'all want to work with other companies, if y'all want to get help on that sort of thing, that's totally fine. Mentorship. But this is where I will say you need to make sure the line is not blurred. It's y'all who are working on the project, right? It's okay to get help from mentors, any professors, anything like that, but the projects need to be built by y'all.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel.
And we have another question here. Does the project have to heavily rely on the Google tool, or can it be loosely used?
It's a really good question. I would again say check out the evaluation criteria, look a little bit deeper, and make sure that you're not going to be shooting yourselves in the foot there to lose out on some points. Now, as someone who knows a little bit more of the rules, since I've read them extensively, it's not going to necessarily hurt you. But I would encourage you, look at all of the Google tools, APIs that are available out there before you just use a very minimal amount of Google products. One of the things that we do is we have a ton of different things out there that could help y'all and are very interesting to learn. And we would be teaching y'all some of these new skills throughout workshops. So I would try to encourage you to branch out, maybe use something that you haven't used before to grow your skill set. But ultimately, if you want to use a Google product or API in a very small capacity, that is your choice as the project leader and or team members for Solution Challenge.
Sounds good. Thank you, Danny.
Of course, those were all great questions. If there's a last minute question as well, I'm happy to answer it. But I know y'all are getting ready to go to the Ideathon, if you will. So yeah.
Yeah, we're just about wrapping up this event. But if you had any questions that went unanswered, or if you have any questions that ever come up, feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to answer them through our email or our social media handles. And especially, definitely follow us on Instagram for any live updates about the club, or anything, any tips that maybe you never thought of, or anything like that. And a link to all of our resources and handles will be found in the Linktree link in the description of this video. And of course, as always, we'd love to hear your feedback on any of our events. And so if you could take a quick moment to go to this form and fill out any feedback that you think would be necessary to help us improve as a community, definitely go to that feedback form. But with
And that link is also available in the video's description.
But with that, see everyone in the Discord in 10 minutes. We'll be getting a 10-minute break before we start. And we'll see you at the Ideation event.
Heck yeah. See you guys later. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.